morning. I'm Rakaya Mikolenko, CSCS, and today I want to talk about compound exercises. So we can take an exercise like the squat. We know it uses multiple major muscles of the lower body, including the core. Or we can have something like a hip thrust, a weighted hip thrust, where it's using glutes and focusing on glutes and hamstrings. We also have an incline press, which is going to use major muscles of the upper body and involve the core as well. And that's kind of the trend you see. Multiple major muscle groups of the lower body, including the core or upper. But then there's other things we can do, like a rear lunge, where we're going to use a smaller muscle like the bicep, or we can do like a plank I'm going to show, where you're just going to do a body weight hamstring curl. So let's get going with what's familiar, everybody. So as we all know, the squat is the king of exercises. I'm going to use my chair here to mark. I'm just going to do 4. I'm a little bit wider these days, so we're going to come down 2, but you need to adjust your stance for your body to be correct and in correct alignment. So over the head, forward. If I like, I can come in here, and now we can have a front. So if you see, you get the elbows up here. I'm going to bring it a little bit more narrow this time for myself, and come down. 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. So then I can rear load if I want. I can get into position for a static split squat here. Now I'm going to open up my arms a little bit. That's just my own personal comfort. Down. 2, 3, 4. And of course, you always want to switch up. 1, 2, good. 3, 4, good. And then of course, let's see, you get in the mirror here. Not so much, so maybe from the side. So then of course we can take a deadlift. Here, and up, and here, and up, up, up. All right, so those are the ones most of us do anyway, right? So what about taking a squat and a press? So if I load up here, now we're working a smaller muscle. I'm going to work the shoulders. So I can bring up together. 2, 3, 4. So now I'm working the shoulders as well. Or I can step back. Not trip on my ball here. Step back with a bicep curl. So opposite arm that steps back. 2, 3, 4. Or maybe I turn that same thing into a curtsy squat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. So I can also do things where I come up in a standing calf raise. So now I have constant contraction in the lower body, but I'm just going to take my demi squat in a heel raise position. Okay, so working multiple muscles of the lower body, but in different ways. So what happens if I take a little different approach here, kind of using that same idea of that constant contraction, and I'm going to do a little hover and front raise. So I'm going to come up and up and up and up. And I certainly can just take that up to shoulder height if I need to. So we talked about those incline presses as well. So for me, I don't have a bench here at my house, so I'm just going to set up on my ball here. 2, 3, 4. And I can also take some pectoral flies with a crunch. So opening up, and now at the top, I take a crunch. 2, 3, 4. Good. So the last one I'd like to show you that I think anyone can do at home is either on a ball, or I have both a Bosu and I have some medicine balls. Some of us have a step, some of us just have the floor. No problem. In this example, I'm going to take my hands into that diamond, the diamond position on this ball here. Nice and stable. So now I have core stability, that constant contraction, isometric contraction. And I'm just going to take my heel to my butt. 2, 3, good. 4, other side. 1, 2, making sure it's flexed. 3, 4, good. So those are all some examples of compound movement. And I know a lot of us get kind of stuck in those same most popular. I really believe that if you are doing pull-ups, some squats, push-ups, you could really have a beautiful physique. Throw in some partial range of motion crunches. If a sit-up bothers you, there's actually some evidence that partial range of motion or modified sit-ups, the crunches, activate more of the muscle and less of the lower body. So of course, depending on the hip flexors, less of depending on what you're focused on there. But regardless, we're trying to be creative. We're trying to use different workouts, stay stimulated. I know I don't have as heavy a weights as I prefer, and I don't have a bench and some different pieces of equipment I'm used to. So compound movements, again, are a way for me to get a more intense workout. And of course, we have reps, sets, and partial range of motion. All of those factors we can play with, even time under tension. The slower you do something, the heavier that 20 pounds is going to feel if you were used to 70 or 80. I have regretted multiple times not investing in a heavy bag or a 50-pound kettlebell, which I should have, but it's all right. So I hope that that was useful. I hope that that opened your mind to think a little bit more creatively about what compound movements might be. Just throwing on another movement on top of what you're doing. There's so much information out there. Again, you can stick with the big ones. You'll be great. But I know I want something a little bit more stimulating.